You don't need concrete to call it a road. Firestone Destination Tires. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
So Myron, from your decades of experience working in the business, what words of wisdom would you give somebody that's just starting up in the tire business today?
Hopefully when they came in, they had a dream, they had enthusiasm for what they're doing, and they weren't shortchanging the business. They were going to put in the time necessary to run the business. It takes you years to really learn this business. It's not as simple as a lot of people think it is. I spent 10 years with Texaco and marketing. I didn't know what I was getting into. I had learned so much the first day, the second day, continuously. In fact, the district manager stopped by the first day and he says, "Myron, you're going to be bored to death." I have never been bored. I've always had things that excited me, enthusiasm, just loved what I was doing. One thing that's very important that I noticed when I was putting independent dealers in business, they were short range. They were thinking in terms of playing golf. They were thinking about having lunch at this point. It's really, to be successful, it's a full commitment. And it's not a 6 month. I would say you have to be committed for 5 years where you're going to give it absolutely everything. No distractions. This is going to be yours. If you weren't going to build a home, you weren't going to do this, you were going to give it everything. And that means resources, energy, and everything else, and build your team. Very important.
So if someone's starting out in the tire business, tire and auto service business, because you have both businesses, what kind of advice would you give that person today that's starting out?
Sure. Well, I would say that, one of the things for me that was very helpful and that I encourage everybody to do is really surround yourself with key advisors. Finding other business experts out in the field that can help assist you in growing your business, whether that be through marketing, accounting, acquisitions, having a group of advisors that can really help you is so beneficial, and that has been very instrumental for me and very beneficial in my personal life that I was very fortunate to figure out early on. And then I think the other thing is, at the end of the day, follow the golden rule, and that golden rule that we all know is, treat others of how you would like to be treated. And I made the comment earlier in the podcast here about we're not in the tire business, we're in the people business. And
right.
How you treat your customers and going above and beyond and with your employees, that if you can execute on that, everything else will follow. Sales will follow, success will follow. And I think those are two key points that are very important.
Awesome. What would you tell someone, young kid starting out in the business today, first location, what kind of advice would you give him today? Wisdom?
Well, I would, knowing my personality, I would probably start off with some sort of a joke in a way to maybe catch him off guard. And I'd probably say, this business is a fantastic business to get in. It'll make you a lot of money. It's a great business to be in. In fact, it's so great that you only have to work half a day. They'll look at me like, really? I says, yeah, you just pick whatever 12 hours that is.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's good. That is awesome. That's a great comment.
No way around hard work, being there day after day after day. getting that trust with the customer, having them know, because you know the places that you like to go to, that you've been going to, you always like to see that familiar face. So you got to be that, you got to grow that, and customers is still your best form of advertising. You know, you got the spouse, the house, and the car, and you're up there in the first 10, 15 minutes of anybody's conversation when they're out there together as another couple. They're talking about their house, their car, or their house, their kids, and everything. Pretty soon it's down to the cars, and we're right up there. And so you've got to earn that, work that, be there all the time. And it's hard not to succeed in this business if you're fair and you're a hard worker.
So taking off on your dad, Jake, would you say this is a relationship business?
Oh, 100%. I think of any advice that I would give, young entrepreneur or whatever, would just be to find a good partner that you could really go and, partner brand that you can associate yourself with. There's so many of them, but I mean, pick a good brand like Bridgestone that just has programs work your competition. You can go anywhere down the street and get that Bridgestone tire, but you can only get the Burt Brothers service when you come to Burt Brothers. You'd have to, really teach that, and I think that's what we try to even teach our people too, is just to always be training your replacement, because there's going to come a time that I'm going to need you in another location to go teach your same skills that you've taught these people here and duplicate yourself right there. So that's what I tell them. Outwork everybody, give that better service, give them a reason to come back, and just always just take care of them and do it with a great attitude and enjoy it along the way.
Well, that's awesome. It sounds like you guys are saying the same thing. You start off with a strong foundation, you get good partners to start business with, and then just once you have a strong foundation, then you can build the walls and go all the way up to the ceiling with the people and the programs and I see you guys on Instagram all the time. I'm liking your stuff. You got fancy trucks with wheels, and it gets me excited, because if somebody came down to me today and said, Johnny G, you can come back again, not somebody, the dear Lord, whatever, came back and said, Johnny G, I'm going to bring you back again. What do you want to be, a movie star, a professional athlete? I said, no, put me back in the tire business, It's the best business. I wouldn't want to have done anything else, Jared, if you could give a piece of advice to a younger Jared, a younger self, what would that be X amount of years later here?
I really feel that I was never interested in being in the auto repair or the tire business. And I would tell that younger Jared, because I wanted to work in restaurants, that this is an awesome industry and this is a great career path, and do it. Because it was 3 conversations with my dad, and I was an adamant no twice. My wife convinced me that this was a good idea. So I would make sure that young Jared knows that this is a great industry and a great career path, and to go for it, because I really didn't want to.
If you could give a piece of advice to a younger self, a younger Ken Langhals today, what would that one piece of advice be?
Well, there's a lot of advice because I had to learn a lot. I had to learn a lot, but the one thing would be is surround yourself with people that love, that love the business, love the customers, love the suppliers, love all the teammates, and also love money. So if they love all that, they'll make the business survive.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Love, love, love. I love it. How about you, Cheryl? What piece of advice would you give a younger Cheryl?
My advice would probably be to hit the pause button instead of reacting first. Pause and think about it. Maybe sometimes even sleep on it. I know sometimes things would upset me or frustrate me, and I would maybe let that show or I guess jump first and ask later. So that's probably, I would say, the thing that I've learned that was probably the hardest. to learn, but wish that I knew that quicker.
You know, Cheryl, take off on what you just said. I'm similar in a similar way. I'm a quick decision person, okay? But if I had a decision to make and I didn't have it didn't feel right in my gut, I wouldn't make the decision then. I would delay it. I would wait. And normally, whether it was a day or two or a week, it then would become clear to me what the right road would be. So rather than just going off and making, like you said, a quick reaction, take your time to think about it a little bit, you know, and that's a great piece of advice, Cheryl. I'd put that one in my book right with you. So I'm going to ask you one question. What piece of advice would you give to your younger self today? What would it be?
Well, I think embracing failure would be the big thing. Early on, I thought failure was a problem. I thought that making mistakes meant getting into trouble, or being fearful of the consequences of trying something new and it not work out. I learned in the last 30 years that is the key secret sauce to success, and to embrace failure. So I would say if I would have known that a long time ago, I would be a lot further along, I think, in a lot of ways in life.
Unbelievable. That's a great answer. So, Gordon, if you could give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh, John, if I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. I'm sure many people will answer this question with, I would have worked less and spent more time with the wife and kids. I would have eaten healthier and drank less. Well, this business is about always doing the next right thing, even when it's uncomfortable. We have to be rigorously authentic and honest with our customers at all times. We need to surrender that outcome. When we start talking about time and money and get all salesy, we lose a little bit of trust. When we talk about the benefits to the customer and we focus on the client, not the car, good things happen. Jen, I've learned over the years there really are no big deals. There's nothing that we could break in this business, that 1% of what goes wrong. There really are no big deals. And we never actually have it made. We got to come to work every day, blocking and tackling, X's and O's, same thing over and over and over again. And that screw that up. One small mistake or one poorly chosen word can lead to disaster, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And while I've studied all my competition, if I mind my own business today and just focus on what I need to do here and coach and train my guys to do that, I think we got a pretty good chance of making today a really great day.
That's great advice, Gordon. That's great, guys. So, Doug, if I could ask you for a piece of advice of your younger self, 20, 25 years ago, what would that advice be to somebody starting up in business today?
That's a tough one. Because there's so many things running through my mind right now that it's basically if access to capital, utilizing people that are smarter than you, trusting in their skills, and stay humble. Stay humble for sure, because you got to listen to your team. You got to use every resource available to you. It's business today is much more challenging than 25 years ago, and it's the technology that's out there. I don't know that there's any one person that can be an expert at all the different things going on in the world today. So long story short, I would say trust in your team, and utilize their strengths. Find a good banker.
Those are great pieces of advice, my friend. Great pieces of advice.
You don't need concrete to call it a road. Firestone Destination Tires. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.